The morning I found the notice taped to my front door, the air was thick with the promise of summer, the kind of day where you'd expect kids laughing and sprinklers humming. Instead, I stood frozen on my porch, the paper in my hand trembling not from fear but from a rage so deep it felt like it could crack the earth. The notice was from the Pinewood Estates OA, typed in cold, official font. Violation, unapproved fence installation. Cease and desist or face eviction. Eviction. From my own home, the one I'd bought with every dime I'd earned, where my wife, Carla, and our twins, Jaden and Mia, had built a life. All because of a fence, a simple wooden barrier we'd put up to keep our kids safe. I ripped the notice down, my eyes scanning the street for the woman I knew was behind this, Evelyn Harper, the HOA president who'd made it her mission to drive us out. Evelyn was the kind of person who wore her authority like armor, her smile as sharp as a blade. From her pristine Tudor-style house at the neighborhood center, she ruled Pinewood like a dictator, issuing fines for overgrown lawns, dictating mailbox colors, and sniffing out any sign of non-compliance. We'd been in her crosshairs since we moved in 2 years ago. A black family in a sea of manicured conformity. It started small snide comments, HOA meetings about our urban garden, fines for Jaden's basketball hoop left out overnight. But this, threatening to evict us over a fence we'd built to protect our kids from a busy street? This was war, and Evelyn had no idea who she was fighting. The fence wasn't just wood and nails. It was our shield, born from a night 6 months earlier when a speeding car had nearly hit Mia as she chased a ball into the road. Carla and I had stayed up, hearts pounding, vowing to keep our twins safe. We'd followed every rule, submitting plans to the HOA citing county codes that allowed fences under 6 feet. Evelyn had rejected our application without explanation, her email dripping with condescension. Such structures disrupt neighborhood aesthetics. So we'd built it anyway, on our own dime, on our own land. Now she was coming for our home, and the injustice burned like acid in my veins. I walked inside. The notice crumpled in my fist. Carla was in the kitchen, packing lunches for the twins, her hum filling the air until she saw my face. "Derek, what's wrong?" I handed her the paper, my voice low. "Evelyn's trying to evict us." Over the fence, her eyes widened, then narrowed with a fire I knew well. "Evict us?" "From our house. She can't do that," I nodded, my mind already racing. "She thinks she can. But she's about to learn she's not the only one with power." Carla searched my face, sensing the weight of what I wasn't saying. She knew my sister, Simone, was the governor, elected in a landslide 2 years ago. But I hadn't told Evelyn, or anyone in Pinewood, because I wanted to live as Derek, the high school principal, not Derek, the governor's brother. Today, that secrecy was my weapon. I kissed Carla's forehead, promising, "I've got this." But as I stepped into my study, the weight of the fight settled on me. This wasn't just about a fence. It was about our right to exist in a neighborhood that eyed us like outsiders, where Evelyn's aesthetics felt like code for keeping Pinewood white and wealthy. I'd seen it in her glances at HOA meetings, heard it in her comments about our different lifestyle. She'd find the only other black family until they moved, citing violations. No one else got. Now she was targeting us, and I wasn't just fighting for my family. I was fighting for every neighbor she'd crushed. I started with evidence, my years as an educator teaching me to build a case methodically. I photographed the fence, its sturdy posts well within our property line. I pulled our deed, HOA bylaws, and county zoning laws, confirming we'd broken no rules. The ISHA's approval process was a sham, a power trip with no legal weight. I emailed a friend, a property lawyer named Malik, who laughed when I read him the notice. "Eviction. They're bluffing," he said. "HOAs can't override deeds. File a countersuit for harassment and discrimination. You've got a slam dunk." His words were a spark, but I wanted more than a lawsuit. I wanted Evelyn to choke on her own arrogance, and I knew just how to make it happen. That afternoon, I drove to Evelyn's house, keeping my demeanor calm, like I was addressing a misbehaving student. Her lawn was a monument to HA perfection, roses in precise rows, a president plaque gleaming on her gate. I knocked, and she answered, her smile tight. "Derek, I assume this is about the notice." Her tone was patronizing, like she was scolding a child. I held up the crumpled paper. "You're threatening to evict my family over a legal fence?" "Explain?" She sighed, crossing her arms. The board voted. "That fence is an eyesore, and we can't have residents ignoring rules. You'll remove it, or we'll escalate." Her eyes glinted, daring me to push back. I leaned in, my voice steady. "Escalate? You're trespassing on my rights, Evelyn. That fence is on my land, and your bylaws don't trump the law." Her smile faltered, but she recovered fast. "The HOA protects property values. You'd understand if you cared about this community." The jab was clear. My family didn't belong. I didn't flinch. "We'll see who's protecting what." This isn't over. As I walked away, her door slammed, and I knew she'd come for me harder. Good. Every move she made was another step into my trap. Back home, I sat with Carla, showing her my notes. "They're trying to scare us out." I said. But I'm calling Malik tomorrow. We're suing. Her eyes softened with pride, but worry lingered. What if they turn the neighbors against us? Jaden heard kids at school talking about the fence. My chest tightened. Our twins? Only 9? We're caught in Evelyn's vendetta. I took her hand. They won't win. Not when we've got the truth. And Simone, Carla nodded, trusting me, but I saw the fear in her eyes. Evelyn wasn't just threatening our home. She was threatening our kids' sense of safety, and that was a mistake she'd regret. By morning, I was ready to fight. Malik was already drafting a suit, and I'd reached out to Simone's chief of staff, laying the groundwork for a power play Evelyn couldn't imagine. She thought she ruled Pinewood, but she was about to face a governor's wrath, channeled through a brother who'd spent years outsmarting bullies. My fence wasn't going anywhere, and neither were we. Evelyn's slammed door echoed in my mind as I drove home, her smug dismissal fueling a fire I hadn't felt since my days facing down school board politics. She thought she'd intimidated me, that her eviction threat would send my family packing. She was wrong. I'd spent years as a principal, turning around failing schools by outsmarting bureaucrats and bullies, and Evelyn was just another obstacle. But this wasn't just about me. It was about Carla, Jaden, Mia, and every neighbor she'd pushed around. I was ready to fight, and Evelyn was about to step into a trap she couldn't see. The next morning, the Hoey's next salvo hit. I woke to find neon orange flyers plastered across the neighborhood, taped to mailboxes and street signs. Warning non-compliant residents, endanger our community. They screamed with a photo of our fence circled in red. The text accused us of defying HOA standards and disrupting Pinewood's harmony, ending with a line that cut deep. We must preserve our neighborhood's legacy from those who don't respect it. Carla found one on our car, her face paling as she read it. Derek, this isn't just about the fence, she said, her voice tight. This is about us being black. I nodded, my jaw clenched. Evelyn's racism wasn't veiled anymore. It was a rallying cry meant to turn neighbors against us. The flyers weren't the only blow. By noon, the HOA had slapped us with new fines. $500 for unauthorized construction, $500 for public disturbance, and a notice demanding we remove the fence within 48 hours or face legal action. The absurdity would have been laughable if it weren't so vicious. Jaden and Mia came home from school quiet, their usual chatter replaced by downcast eyes. Kids at school said we're ruining the neighborhood. Jaden mumbled, kicking his backpack. Mia's lip trembled. They said we don't belong here. I knelt, pulling them close, my heart breaking. You listen to me? I said. This is our home. Nobody gets to tell us we don't belong. We're fighting this, and we're gonna win. Their small hugs were a lifeline, but Evelyn's attack on my kids lit a fuse I couldn't contain. I called Malik, my lawyer friend, who was already drafting our countersuit. This is harassment, plain and simple, he said. The flyers? The fines? They're targeting you for discriminatory reasons. We'll sue for emotional distress and civil rights violations. He paused, his voice sharpening. But we need more dirt on Evelyn. She's not this bold without a history. I agreed, and that night, I started digging. I reached out to the other black family Evelyn had driven out, the Thompsons, who'd moved after endless fines for lawn violations. Mrs. Thompson answered my call, her voice wary but resolute. She fined us $4,000 over 2 years, she said. Called our yard unkempt, but never fined the white folks with worse lawns. I kept emails, used them. Her evidence was gold, proof of Evelyn's pattern of racism. I also found an unexpected ally in Mr. Patel, a quiet accountant who'd lived in Pinewood for a decade. He knocked on our door, holding a folder. I was the HOA treasurer until Evelyn pushed me out, he said. She fudged budgets, redirected fines to special projects with no receipts. I saved everything. Inside were spreadsheets showing thousands in unaccounted HOA funds, some funneled to Evelyn's personal landscaping company. I thanked him, my pulse racing. This wasn't just about my fence. It was about exposing a corrupt empire, and Mr. Patel's records were a smoking gun. Evelyn's campaign grew uglier. At the grocery store, Carla was cornered by an HOA board member, a woman named Linda, who hissed, "Your fence is dragging us all down. Why can't you just follow the rules?" Carla shot back, "Rules? Like letting Evelyn steal our rights." Linda stormed off, but the encounter left Carla shaken. Neighbors we'd once waved to now avoided us, their silence louder than words. One night, someone spray painted, "Tear it down," on our fence, the letters jagged and red. Carla cleaned it off before the kids saw, but her hands trembled. "Derek, how far is she gonna take this?" she asked, her voice low. I held her, my resolve hardening. As far as she wants. But she's not ready for what's coming. I contacted Simone's chief of staff, Rachel, keeping my tone casual. "Just checking in," I said. "Might need a favor soon." Rachel knew me well enough to hear the edge in my voice. "Name it Derek. Simone's got your back. I didn't mention Evelyn yet. Simone was busy running the state, and I wanted to handle this myself until the moment was right. but knowing my sister's power was in my corner gave me an edge Evelyn couldn't imagine. As governor, Simone had championed fair housing laws, cracking down on discriminatory HOAs. If push came to shove, she'd bring the state's weight down like a hammer. The HOA's next move was an emergency meeting, billed as a chance to address resident misconduct. I knew it was a setup, Evelyn's chance to rally her loyalists and bury us. The community center was packed, the air heavy with tension. Evelyn stood at the podium, her smile polished but her eyes cold. "We're here to protect Pinewood's values," she began, her voice dripping with fake concern. "Certain residents have defied our rules, endangering our community with illegal structures." She flashed a photo of our fence, the crowd murmuring. "We can't let selfishness tear us apart." I stood, my voice cutting through the room like a blade. "Selfishness? You mean like fining families out of their homes, Evelyn? Like targeting black and brown residents with fake violations?" The room hushed, her allies shifting uncomfortably. I held up Mrs. Thompson's emails. "You drove out the Thompsons with $4,000 in fines for a lawn you never complained about next door, and now you're threatening to evict my family for a legal fence." Mr. Padel stood next, his voice steady. "She's been stealing HOA funds, too. I have proof." He waved his folder and the crowd erupted, some shouting in support, others demanding answers. Evelyn's face reddened, her gavel pounding uselessly. "This is slander!" she shrieked, but the room was slipping from her control. Linda tried to back her up, but Mrs. Thompson's daughter, now a local reporter, stood. "I'm publishing this tomorrow," she said, holding up her phone. "The world's gonna know what you've done." Evelyn's allies faltered, and I saw fear in her eyes. She'd expected me to cower, to let her fines and flyers break us. She didn't know I'd been building a coalition, that my sister's shadow loomed larger than her HOA throne. The meeting ended in chaos, but I walked out smiling. Evelyn was unraveling, and I was ready to pull the final thread. The chaos of the HA meeting was like a crack in Evelyn's armor, but I knew she'd strike back with everything she had. She wasn't the type to slink away. She'd rather torch the neighborhood than lose her grip. I was ready. My evidence stacked like a fortress, my allies rallied, and my sister's shadow looming larger than Evelyn could fathom. But the next few days brought a storm that pushed my family to the edge, testing my resolve until the moment I could unleash a reckoning she'd never forget. It started with a sheriff's deputy at our door, his face apologetic as he handed me a document. "Eviction notice," he said, avoiding my eyes. "From the Pinewood OA, you've got 7 days." I scanned the paper, my pulse steady, but my anger molten. The notice claimed we'd violated OA bylaws by refusing to remove the fence, justifying our removal from our own home. It was a fake, a desperate power grab with no legal weight, but the audacity hit like a slap. Carla stood behind me, her voice shaking. "They're trying to take our house, Derek, our kids' home." I turned, my eyes locked on hers. "They're bluffing, Carla. They don't know who they're messing with." But as the deputy drove away, I saw Gideon and Mia peeking from the hallway, their faces pale. This wasn't just a fight for a fence anymore. It was a fight for their future. Evelyn's desperation peaked. More flyers appeared, now calling us squatters, who'd stolen Pinewood's peace. Neighbors who'd wavered after the meeting turned cold again, some leaving anonymous notes on our porch. "Leave or else." At school, Jaden got into a fight defending Mia from a bully who'd parroted Evelyn's lies. I sat them down that night, their eyes wide with worry. "Are we gonna lose our house, Daddy?" Mia asked. I knelt, my voice firm. "No, baby. This is our home and we're staying. I'm fixing this." Jaden nodded, his jaw set like mine. "Get her, Dad?" Their trust was a fire, burning away any doubt. Evelyn had hurt my kids and I was done playing nice. I called Malik, who laughed at the eviction notice. "This is legal garbage," he said. "We're countersuing for harassment, discrimination, and fraud. Evelyn's done." He filed the suit, naming Evelyn and the HOA board, citing their racist targeting and Mr. Padel's evidence of stolen funds. I also reached out to Rachel, Simone's chief of staff, this time laying it all bare. "Evelyn's trying to evict us," I said. "I need Simone's help." Rachel's voice was steel. "She's already on it. The governor's office is sending a fair housing investigator. Hang tight." Simone's power was my ace, but I wanted Evelyn to walk into the trap herself publicly, where her downfall would be undeniable. The county scheduled a hearing spurred by Malik's suit and Simone's investigator, a no-nonsense woman named Claudia who'd cracked down on HAs before. The hearing was held in the county courthouse, packed with neighbors, reporters, and a live stream camera from Mrs. Thompson's daughter. Evelyn arrived with her lawyer, a slick guy named Greg, her chin high but her hands fidgeting. She thought she could spin this, but the room's energy was against her. Claudia opened, presenting our deed, the fence's compliance with county codes, and the HOA's forged eviction. "Notice," Malik followed, showing Mrs. Thompson's emails and Mr. Padel's spreadsheets, proving Evelyn's discriminatory fines and 50,000 in misappropriated funds. I took the floor, my voice carrying the weight of every family she'd hurt. Evelyn Harper didn't just target my fence, I said. She targeted my family, my black family, with racist flyers and fake fines, trying to erase us from Painwood. She's done it before to the Thompsons, to others, and she's stolen your money to do it. I held up the spray-painted photo of our fence. This is her legacy, hate and theft. The crowd roared, neighbors shouting, shame. Evelyn's lawyer tried to object, but Claudia shut him down. Let him speak, she said, her eyes on Evelyn, who was shrinking in her seat. Malik called Mr. Patel, who detailed Evelyn's financial schemes, and Mrs. Thompson's daughter, who read her mother's emails aloud, exposing years of racial targeting. Greg's defense was pathetic, claiming Evelyn had misunderstood our deed, but Malik pounced. Misunderstood? Or did you think a black family wouldn't fight back? Evelyn's testimony was a train wreck. She sobbed, claiming she'd protected Pinewood's values, but Claudia grilled her on the stolen funds. Where's the $50,000, Miss Harper? Evelyn stammered. I don't know. The lie was so thin it snapped, the crowd jeering. Then came the moment I'd waited for. Claudia introduced a surprise witness, Simone, my sister, the governor, striding in with a presence that silenced the room. Gasps rippled through the crowd, Evelyn's face draining of color. I'm here to address a pattern of HOA abuse, Simone said, her voice commanding. My brother's family was targeted, but they're not alone. As governor, I've signed laws to protect homeowners from discriminatory A's, and Pinewood's violations end today. She presented a state order freezing the HOA's accounts and launching a full audit. Evelyn's lawyer slumped, and the crowd erupted in cheers. The ruling was a hammer blow. The Pinewood HOA is liable for $20,000 in damages to the Harlan family, $30,000 in punitive fines and all legal costs, Claudia declared. Evelyn Harper is removed as president, and the OA is under state oversight pending reform. Evelyn's sob was drowned out by applause, her allies slipping out the back. Simone hugged me, whispering, "You did this?" Derek. I shook my head. We did. Evelyn's fall was swift. The audit uncovered more fraud, leading to criminal charges for embezzlement. Her house went up for sale. Its president. Plaque gone. Her reign of memory. The HOA was rebuilt with Mr. Patel as treasurer, its rules transparent, its fines fair. Neighbors who'd shunned us apologized, some joining us for a block party where Jaden and Mia ran free, their latter healing the scars. Carla stood by the fence, now repainted, her hand in mine. We won, she said, her eyes shining. I nodded, pulling her close. And we're staying. That night, I sat with Jaden and Mia, showing them a photo from the hearing, Simone at the podium, me beside her, the fence behind us. This is what fighting looks like, I said. You don't let bullies take what's yours. Mia grinned. Like superheroes? I laughed, ruffling her hair. Exactly. As they slept, I looked out at our yard, the fence standing tall. Evelyn had tried to ban us, to break us, to erase us. She didn't know we were unbreakable. Backed by a governor's might and a family's love, our home was more than a house. It was our legacy, our defiance, our victory, and no one would ever threaten it again. The courtroom's echoes had barely faded, but the impact of Marjorie's defeat rippled through Pinewood like a shockwave. As I walked out of the federal courthouse, neighbors clapped my back, their faces alight with a hope I hadn't seen in years. Mrs. Thompson squeezed my arm, her voice thick. You didn't just win, James. You set us free. I smiled, but my mind was already on Aisha, Lena, and Marcus, waiting at home. The trial had been a victory, but it was their strength, our strength, that had carried us through. Marjorie had tried to steal our backyard, our dignity, our place in this world, and we'd buried her for it. But I knew the fight wasn't truly over until our home felt whole again, and I was determined to make that happen. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind. The county's audit of the HOA uncovered a web of corruption stretching back a decade, fake fines, inflated contracts, even kickbacks to Marjorie's cronies. Victor, the DA, called me with a grin in his voice. She's facing 5 years for tax fraud, maybe more if the feds push embezzlement. I pictured Marjorie in her McMansion, now a ghost house with a "for sale" sign stabbed into its perfect lawn. She'd fled to avoid the cameras, but the news followed her. Every local station ran the story, her mugshot plastered beside headlines like, "Show Tyrant Falls." Her allies on the board resigned in disgrace, and Pinewood's new leadership, led by Mrs. Thompson, rewrote the bylaws. No more discriminatory fines, no more unchecked power. The neighborhood was breathing again, and it felt like ours for the first time. But Marjorie's shadow lingered in small ways. A few of her loyalists grumbled at community meetings, blaming me for ruining Pinewood's standards. One even left a note in our mailbox. You'll regret this. Aisha found it, her face tight, but I tore it up. They're ghosts, I said. They can't touch us now. She nodded, but I saw the flicker of fear in her eyes, the same fear that had haunted us when the rock shattered our window. I doubled down, installing security cameras around our yard, their red lights a silent promise, try me. No one did. The grumblers faded, and Pinewood's heart shifted. Families who'd been silenced started speaking up, sharing stories of Marjorie's abuses, rebuilding bonds she'd broken. The backyard became our sanctuary again. Aisha replanted her garden, the tomatoes and peppers thriving where Marjorie's fence had scarred the earth. Lena and Marcus helped, their laughter louder than ever, as if the trial had freed something in them. One afternoon, as we weeded together, Lena looked up, her eyes serious. "Daddy, you're like a superhero in court, right?" I chuckled, ruffling her hair. "Just doing my job, kiddo," Marcus piped up. "But you beat the bad lady." I knelt, pulling them close. "We'll beat her, together." Their pride was a warmth I carried everywhere, a reminder that this fight was for them, for their right to grow up unafraid. Then came the final twist, the kind of justice that felt scripted by fate. Months after the trial, I got a call from Elena, my law clerk who'd kept tabs on Marjorie's case. "You're gonna love this," she said, barely containing her laughter. "Marjorie's condo in the city, it's in an HOA, and they just fined her for unapproved balcony decorations." I laughed so hard I nearly dropped the phone. The irony was delicious. Marjorie, the queen of HOA tyranny, now at the mercy of her own kind. Elena added, "She's fighting it, but the board's got her dead to rights." Karma's real? I hung up, picturing Marjorie's face, red with the same fury she'd aimed at us. She'd built her empire on control, but now she was just another resident, powerless and trapped. That summer, we hosted a neighborhood festival in our backyard, the first Pinewood had seen in years. Families filled the grass, black, Latino, white, all laughing together, kids chasing fireflies, music drifting under the stars. Mrs. Thompson brought her famous peach cobbler, Mr. Patel grilled kebabs, and Carla's reporter friend filmed it all, calling it Pinewood's New Dawn. Aisha stood beside me, her hand in mine, her smile brighter than the sunset. "This is what home feels like," she said. I kissed her forehead, my heart full. This is what we fought for. As the festival wound down, I gathered Lena and Marcus by the garden, pointing to the spot where Marjorie's fence had stood. "This is ours," I said. "Not just the land, but the fight, the win, the love. No one can take that." Lena nodded, clutching a flower she'd picked. "Like you in court, Daddy." I smiled. "Exactly." That night, I stood on the porch, the yard glowing under string lights, neighbors' voices a soft hum. Marjorie had tried to break us, banking on her HOA throne and the neighborhood's silence. She didn't know I was a federal judge, that my family's love was stronger than her hate, that justice was my craft. Our backyard was more than soil. It was our legacy, proof we belonged, proof we'd won. And as the stars burned bright, I knew no one would ever challenge that again.